It's the 7th of September, 1939, just outside of the town Wizna in Poland. Is the artillery ready? Yes, Captain. Ammunition? Reinforced and filled. To your positions. Get ready, men. It's going to be a tough fight. Captain Władysław Raginis patrols the defensive emplacements under his command, two collections of bunkers and trenches 6 kilometers apart lining the bank of the Nerev River from Gorostrykova to Wizna. Cheer up, Christoph. You'll come home and see her. Keep your eyes on Wizna. The Germans could appear from this side. Take cover. Suddenly, an explosion shakes the earth. Soldiers in the trenches are rushing for the bunkers as the air fills with fire and shrapnel. Aircraft then roar overhead, dropping bombs. One of the men rushes for the phone and gives the message they've all been dreading. They are here. The dry brush is set alight and fires spread across the trenches. In both positions, the air becomes foul with smoke and dust. The bombardment keeps up for half an hour until, abruptly, it stops, the battlefield switching from deafening explosions to the most disturbing silence. The men at Wizna lay low, not daring to expose an inch of their bodies. Outside, something else breaks the quiet. There's an entire tank division. Tell Raginis. Confirmed. Orders? Blow the bridge. Yes, sir. At the front, the men brace for what is to come. Wait. Wait. Now. In a blink of an eye, the bridge is destroyed into a million pieces. Rubble and vehicles fall and slam into the earth and water. On the opposite bank, the Germans are thrown into disarray. Many flee, expecting the bunkers to come alive, while some open fire into the fortifications at random. The Poles sit still as bullets and shells slam into their bunkers, trusting them with their lives. The fire soon stops, the Germans seemingly not knowing what to do. Peeking back out, the men see the German infantry is all gone, but the tanks still remain. Then a small group of men on foot appear from the buildings. The Polish lookout frowns. Jerzy, are those officers? Don't know, but these men look important. The idea of shooting is tantalizing. He reaches out to his bunker's machine gun and swings it towards the enemy as he mulls the idea of opening fire. But he doesn't get to choose. They are in the bunker on the other side of the river. The Pole has no time to think it over, and he pulls the trigger. The machine gun is unleashed, cutting through the men in a matter of seconds. Retreat! Return to the village quickly! Kurwa! Take that! The gunshot of the massive rifles washes across the battlefield, and the huge bullet slams into the enemy armor. They fire again and again, with some shots bouncing and some punching through. The tankers are thrown into disarray as the transmission of their injured brothers makes them keenly aware of the danger they're in. They fire back with their cannons, aiming at bunkers at random as they retreat under fire, escaping the Polish ambush. Back at Gorostrykova, Raginis listens to the men's updates. He is impressed at their early success, but with such an overwhelming force against them, he knows it won't last. Outside his bunker, the sounds of bullets and bombs continue to rage. It's a sleepless night. The sun rises to a foggy morning. The visibility across the river is next to nothing, but the Poles can hear there's something afoot. Sir, the tanks are on the move. They're crossing the river. Sir, prepare anti-tank rifles. They hear the splashes, the revving engines, the moving water. Tanks are wading through. Panzers appear like specters through the fog, and the Polish line immediately opens fire. The panzers push through, firing their cannons, as behind them emerge multiple boats of infantry. The machine gunners focus on them, and scores of Germans fall to their fire. But the panzers fight back, firing high explosive shells at the Polish positions and claiming casualties. We are under fire. I can't detect the enemy firing position. The anti-tank rifles try to bring them down, but there's too many of them. One tank is hit. Continue the offensive. Moments later, shells begin raining down on the enemy line. Explosions rip through the formation, sending the German infantry scrambling for cover, which doesn't exist, while the tanks are shaken and disoriented by the incessant detonations. A few are brutally taken out of action with a direct impact, while the rest struggle to fight under the heavy bombardment. The anti-tank riflemen continue firing through it all, damaging more enemy tanks. The bunkers continue to fire at the exposed Germans as the entire battle becomes a duel of artillery. But only one side has bunkers. The German position is completely untenable. Tanks and men are just trying to survive through the storm of shells. Meanwhile, an officer gets on the phone to update Raginis. We are holding the line, but we need more fire cover. Second line, do you copy? Damn it! Unexpectedly, the next salvo of enemy shells punches into the ground without detonating and starts emitting plumes of white smoke, blinding the entire battlefield as high explosives continue to rain. The Poles keep guard through it all, fearing the Germans are about to push under the smokescreen. But they don't. Instead, the battered German attack force retreats across the river. But it's hardly a victory. "Sir, we are almost out of ammo. We are better off retreating to the main bunkers." And so, with the cover of the night, the brave defenders prepare to escape. With all their losses, only 11 beaten survivors remain. They make their way out under the cover of darkness. Don't shoot. What's the password? Like and subscribe.
It's hours from the front line. Meanwhile, Captain Raginis takes a deep breath. Now it's their turn to fight. He phones Captain Schmidt, commander of the second bunker in the nearby village of Korpiki. "Schmidt, we have lost the forward line. We need a scout to inform us of the enemy advance. Can you do it? Right away." Schmidt gathers a small crew, and together they venture out into the unknown. Taking the same dry swamp as the survivors, they make their way back to the forward positions. When they get there, they are met with a scene of utter devastation, but still, they push on. Finding a view down into the river, Schmidt takes a closer look. Some tanks and infantry have made it across, but most are still on the opposite side. A pontoon bridge is being constructed, with men and tanks gathering to use it. "Captain, should we open fire?" "No, it's not our mission. The most important thing is to get report to the commander." The group managed to get back to their bunker, and Schmidt shares what he saw with Raginis, including the scout unit. "Shell the area and prepare for battle." "Yes, sir." The Poles double and triple check their weapons, determined to make the enemy pay. Time drags on. The explosion of Polish artillery echoes. Then the enemy aircraft return. Men stuck outside dive for cover as bombs rock the earth around them, the relentless bombing resuming in anger. Eventually, it subsides, and Raginis knows that can only mean one thing. The Germans fire at the defensive positions, advancing from cover to cover through the trees and grass. The Poles return fire from the bunkers and trenches, cutting down Germans left and right, but they have the numbers. They reach one of the trenches and drop in, taking cover from the bunkers as they fight off the Polish soldiers. The enemy approaching the first bunker of 3. "Damn it, we can't advance. We are waiting for the main forces." Hours of stalemate pass until a rumble is heard in the distance. Dread fills the Poles as the source crests over the terrain. It's 60 panzers from the 10th Panzer Division. They unleash their guns and the shells slam into the first bunker while the Poles open fire with all they have. Small arms do little, and the few anti-tank rifles can't handle the sheer amount of vehicles as shell after shell slams into the fortified emplacements. The men in the first bunker receive the brunt of the enemy attack, with panzer shells pummeling the bunkers as men fight for their lives. Across the main road in the opposite town, Captain Schmidt is facing the same impossible odds. Gunfire rains down from everywhere, and tank shells slam into the heavy concrete. More and more shells slam into the first bunker until finally, a shell strikes right through the bunker. In the blink of an eye, the first bunker falls to complete silence. Within moments, the German infantry breaks down the door and pushes in, taking it over. The assault carries on with all eyes falling on Raginis's bunker, but Schmidt isn't done yet. "Affix bayonets, men." The Germans hear a war cry, and men charge out of the destroyed bunker, Schmidt at the very front. The Germans try to flee, some continuing to fire as the mad Poles run through the hail of bullets. Schmidt's men furiously attack the enemies. The Germans try to fight back, but the cohesion of their line has been lost, and the Poles cut them down with efficiency, wiping out the squad. Schmidt can barely believe that worked. Get back, everyone back. They run back to the safety of the bunker and make it almost completely unscathed. But it doesn't last for long. The bombardment resumes, and the Polish lines outside break down, destroyed by the overwhelming fire. Schmidt's bunker is surrounded. Schmidt opens fire with his rifle, joining one of the remaining machine gunners in the defense. German after German falls. The Panzer takes notice. The tank takes aim. Exit the bunker. The shell explodes, wrecking the machine gun and firing shrapnel across the room. Schmidt, the machine gunner, and 3 other men are hit. Germans completely surround the complex, banging on the doors. Schmidt realizes he has no other option and surrenders. Raginis's bunker is the last one standing, outnumbered and hopelessly outgunned. The Germans surround the position and attempt to fight their way inside, but the Poles repeatedly fight them off at the doors. The German fire also slows. The whole evening and night is spent in this one-sided stalemate. "Give up, your situation is hopeless." No reply comes. Inside, the Poles greet them with a wall of lead. The bunker doors are becoming impassable choke points, held by the power of a machine gun. This is repeated multiple times.
The Poles determined to inflict as much damage as they can, but try to save the ammo. There are a lot of them. They're on their last bullets. Surrender immediately. If you continue the fight, there will be no mercy. Raginis still doesn't want to, but he can't know if his men feel the same. They've already done their duty and more. They made the enemy pay dearly. Would they proudly fight to their last breath with him, or would they curse the commander who condemned them to death in the name of pride? Raginis takes a deep breath and steps up before his men. Gentlemen, thank you for everything. You have served our nation with excellence. It's time to lay down our arms. He opens a door. A line of Germans stand outside, but don't open fire. Raginis holds the door open as his men walk out one by one, sharing a look of utmost respect. The Germans throw them to the ground, but Raginis doesn't look. The last man exits, leaving Raginis on his own, and he closes the door. Moments later, the men hear a grenade go off inside. Captain Władysław Raginis commanded a unit of 720 Polish soldiers. They faced a superior German force of 42,000 men, 450 tanks, 108 150mm howitzers, and 58 other guns. He was posthumously awarded the Gold and Silver Crosses of the War Order of Virtuti Militari and the Grand Cross of the Order of Polonia Restituta.